Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RiverCity-Media Beyond the Booth. I'm sitting in for Randy Cunningham tonight that's on special assignment. Joined, as always, by Phil Harris to my left. And our special guest tonight is a legendary coach of the Pisgah Lady Eagles, Coach Carey Ellison. Coach Ellison, thanks for joining us tonight.
I appreciate the opportunity, and thank y'all for having me on.
We appreciate you taking the time because we know this is the busiest time of your year, starting off with the area tournament coming up this weekend. Actually, I think you'll play come Monday or Tuesday of next week, but still, you still got a few games to take place this week.
Yes, it's been one of those crazy months where the way the calendar fell, it's like a hurry up and wait syndrome. This will be our second span of being off for a solid week before playing because we played Eider last night and don't play again until made our way into area finals on Tuesday. Not been able to pick up a game that would fit everybody's schedule, so I guess we're going to find a way to practice and make the best of what we have.
You're moving into the area play and being in a three-team area. Do you like that or not by getting a bye to the finals?
Uh, well, it's good to know you're already into the sub-region. The delay here, I've never had to experience that before, and so that's going to be a little new. We practiced last night or played last night and decided that today was a good day to rest up a little bit. Back-to-back nights of games, and had a lot of energy out for both of those. Now we're heading into this three-team thing, and it is still a little bit of a mystery. It's good to be in the playoffs already, but I'm not sure we might hadn't rather play a first-round game and make sure we're not rusty.
Well, Coach, playing back-to-back games is difficult, but the teams that you had to play, North Sand Mountain on Monday and Eider last night, rival games for you, and one of them's an area game. How do you overcome that?
We played really well, shot the ball well Monday, and Eider was just too much for us last night. Their defensive intensity was, as usual, was ridiculous. We create much anything and still managed to stay in the game somewhat. I could sense we're a little frustrated and a little bit dead-legged, and so it was like, we don't play till Tuesday. I'll take a day. But that's the way the whole season has been. We'll have big gaps and then have 4 games in 3 days or something like that. So we kind of got used to it, but you're never really prepared when it's the North Sand Mountain and Eider back to back.
I remember, I think it was last year before last, going into the county tournament. You had played, I think, 6 games in 7 days or something like that. Would you rather have 6 games in 7 days or have a whole week off?
That's tricky. I guess I'd rather have the whole week off. It just depends on the depth and the experience. We've got the experience, but we play 7 and sometimes kids. It's pretty tough when you start putting on 3 and 4 in such a short time period. So hopefully the rest, if I can simulate the game at all in practice the rest of the week, maybe the rest will do us some good.
I'll ask you one more question. I'll turn it over to Mr. Harris. Being Pisgah Eagles, being the Lady Eagles, having all these state championships that you've won in the past, and I know it's the past, but people still think of Pisgah being the dominant team. You going into these gyms and playing these other teams with a big X on your back, how do you talk to your players and get them used to that?
My older kids, which are juniors mostly, a couple of seniors, they really know they're going to be everybody's best pretty much every night. Some of my newer players on the varsity are just now here towards the end of the season realizing that even if we have someone outskilled or overpowered, they're going to come in with their best game and their best game plan, and they're really going to celebrate if they get an opportunity to do it. And so it's a hard mindset to get. But after the county tournament, week before last or last week, I think it finally set in that, every night is going to be a battle. Even if you happen to be more talented, they're going to be tough. We're finally in the right frame of mind, I think.
You'll find out come sub-region play, I'm sure. Mr. Phil, turn it over to you, buddy.
Yeah, well, Coach, I wanted to speak on that, because, of course, a lot of times Pisgah here recently has been pushed back in basketball because of the success of football, and I'm sure it's great for the school to be good in football, but sometimes it causes you to stay out of routine in basketball where you end up playing 3 or 4 games a week instead of maybe a couple a week.
That has happened. Coach Smith, before he left, he tried to plan ahead for that. We kind of expect to make the quarterfinals or semifinals of the state playoffs in football, so we bumped all our area games back into January. But had I known how the calendar was going to fall, we might have did some changing up, because we've had all of our area games after the new year, plus had the county tournament, and coming off of the Sand Mountain tournament. So we played the same teams, seems like every other day. And so looking forward to trying to make the schedule a little more manageable next year. But right now it's been tough because we hurry up and play 3 or 4 games. And then, like I said, this will be our second long break in a row, or our second long break this month.
Yeah, and you talk about that. Yeah, the schedule is always difficult for Pisgah, because sometimes the record is misleading because of the level of competition you play. Like last year, Skyline was very good. They're maybe not quite as good now. Ider all of a sudden is good. So your schedule is always difficult. And like you had talked about being in a 3-team area, if you're in a 4-team area, you've got 2 more games automatically scheduled. It's kind of hard for you to find teams to play because you want to play your traditional rivals.
We do. There's, most teams that we played this year, we kind of had to just scramble and get some teams in. We went to Moore County, Tennessee, which is I would expect them to be in the state finals in their class, 2A up there. They came to us. I don't even know how Coach Smith managed to get that one lined up. We have, Ider on the schedule, which, they're perennial powerhouse now. And a lot of teams that we would like to play on one side of the program with the boys won't play on the girls' side. And sometimes that works in reverse. Some of them that really want to play on the girls' side, the boys won't want to play. So scheduling is very challenging most of the time.
Yeah, I very much understand. And you spoke on this, when you're at Pisgah, the expectation, by the young people, they've seen it, they know it, you can't hide it from them. The expectation is to win the state championship. And you go through the regular season kind of building toward that. And like you say, you start sensing that county tournament time that they're going to pick up their level of play. And, I knew you had, you golden opportunity to beat North Sand Mountain and host the area tournament. But those young ladies played well. And they played well at the right time.
Yeah, we came off that county tournament pretty disappointed, and especially our first half performance against North Sand Mountain in the finals. And then when we went up there, I think we might have caught them a very rare occasion where we caught someone a little bit flat. We jumped out early, shot the ball well, defended well, and like I said, I think they were just a little bit flat when we got in there, so that gave us a boost as well. It's just really high school sports, like all other levels, really is so unpredictable. But when it's when you're making a living off what a teenager decides to do and not to do, it can be or it always is frustrating at some point during the season.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I hear a lot of coaches. Coach Coker spoke on this. He said that's the thing is about basketball. You don't necessarily have to be the best team because in basketball now there's so many variables involved.
Oh yeah, you just got to be the best team that day, or happen to be on the right streak. We've caught fire before along about this time of year, and we probably were not the better team in December. By the time mid-February got here, we had playing at our best and caught some good breaks, caught some, I won't call them lucky because I think you create your own luck most of the time, but caught good breaks, got some people that, had bad nights and got knocked out before we had to play them. There's been a lot of fortunate opportunities come through, and you never know each night whether, and I won't be official on the officials, but you never know what kind of game you're going to get. Is it going to be physical? Are they going to, call it tight? We've had both. We've had every handshake is called, and then we've had some pretty rough play and never hear the whistle, it seems. So there's just so many things that can happen. You got to be good. You got to be got to find some luck, some good fortune in there too.
Of course, Coach, you have experienced this for years. Just getting out of your backyard, so to speak, which I'm talking about area play, you've got a chance to win a state championship because it is so competitive. If you can get out of your area, you've got a chance to win a title. And we've seen this year after year. But on the flip side, that's great because the level of competition helps your team.
It does. Our schedule has definitely helped us. And people keep telling me if we can that it's getting through Susan Moore and North Sand Mountain is the two places we're going to have to go to get to Birmingham. And that might be accurate. I still think Sandrock will have something to say about it. Perhaps one of the teams out of private schools out of the Birmingham area, they're not just going to roll over. So I believe, we got a good chance if we can get consistent with everything defensively and understand how to get some flow on offense and keep it. Sometimes we get a little stagnant, and that's a lot of what happened against Ider. Because, again, their defense caused a lot of that as well. So
yeah, I watched them in the game against Plainview, and they are relentless. They'll even pressure you off of missed shots. And then, and thing where they give Plainview so many problems is they get in your face. They get in up under you. They don't have a lot of length, but they just get right up under you and, limit your, creativity, so to speak. And against Plainview, they created a lot of turnovers because Plainview got frustrated.
Yeah, they're super, super quick, fast. They've got a lot of basketball players with good basketball knowledge. They understand their objective too. They'll keep you isolated on one side of the court, and it almost like it bakes you back into the middle where everyone is. But it's a lot of it is just people going to their strong hand, and but they dictate what you're going to do on offense, and then when you try to guard them, McKinley's a nightmare to try to stay in front of, and now she's shooting the ball from the three really well. You got Smith, and Lord, every one of them has managed to step up and make some shots on us, and that's been, we played them 3 times now. We led them at Ider. Sand Mountain tournament was, one of those I thought we had a chance to win. Last night, we spotted them too much early, but it wasn't as much us playing bad, I don't think, as it was they played really well on defense. They can play better on offense, but maybe we had something to do with that as well with our defense.
And I think that may go back to they got over a major hurdle by finally beating Plainview. And sometimes that does a lot for your psyche.
Oh, it definitely does. And, they're kind of, maybe they're our Plainview, so to speak. We were managed to beat them last year before Trailer came back. And then, she was the big difference maker come regional tournament time. But you don't get better by playing people that don't challenge you, and they definitely are going to challenge you. I believe we're better for it, even though it's pretty frustrating.
Well, Coach, looking back at your career, because you was a 1985 graduate of North St. Mountain, I remember that because that's the year I graduated from Valley Head. You've been coaching basketball a long time. I think it's 8 state championships. You've won over 700 games. And I'm sure every once in a while it probably creeps into the back of your mind, how much longer am I going to do this? But do you still love the game?
That depends on which day.
Yeah.
It creeps quite often. Cultures change so much. Everything that starts in the pros eventually works its way down into high school. I'm afraid of what the future for high school may hold because of the way college sports is being ran now, with all the money, the transfer portals, and of course the just blatant recruiting. I worry about that because, like it or not, recruiting is becoming more and more of a thing in high school. It's just probably more under the table than out in the open. It's going to be hard to continue because it's just hard to keep people bought into your culture nowadays. They're being pulled in so many different ways. So, I'm hoping I can continue on for, however long. I've vowed not to make any promises anymore. But I've got some kids I want to see through, and every time there's one graduating class, I find someone else that I feel like I need to see them through. So at some point, I've got to do what's totally best for me. But I am happy, but some of the days are really long.
Yeah, I understand. And we're not quite as mentally tough as we used to be. And I know that it gets to be, sometimes it gets to be a job more than an enjoyment. I know how that goes, and a lot of what you're talking about too, I think, is what coaches are losing is that being able to develop kids on and off the court. Because if they don't like what's going on, they'll just move to another school.
No doubt. And, we've all experienced it. I've benefited from it before. And I've had to suffer from the consequences of people moving as well. But the relationship part is what keeps me going, what keeps most coaches I know when they're able to make the connections and get to see when the light finally turns on for someone and they figure themselves out and figure out the game a little bit. But it's getting harder and harder to build the relationships because, as I said, the kids are tugged and told in so many different ways, whether it's with their own parents or other schools, other aspirations, other sports. We share so many players. It's really difficult to develop players into, what I would call a true basketball player because they're playing softball and volleyball and then all the extra things that go on. It's just a lot more difficult to get in the gym like it, was at one time. That's where everybody wanted to be, either on the field or in the gym. And now there's just so many options that just it's frustrating. But like I said, whenever you do get to see something positive come about, when you get to see someone who finally gets that level of development you hope for, it's gratifying.
Yeah, and I think Robbie Coker talked about exactly what you're talking about. These kids are probably playing too many games, too many sports. They grow tired of the game because it's a big sacrifice, and he worries about there's not enough teachers going into the field. There's not enough new coaches going in the field. And another thing is, too, what he worries about is we don't have enough officiating officials coming into the fold officiating anymore. And he said, Phil, I'm worried about the future of athletics in high school because of those reasons.
I would agree. And, I'm as guilty as pretty much any other coach of staying on the officials. And I always thought years ago that, that's just something they do for extra money. And that's something we do for a career. As I've aged, got a little bit wiser, I realize most of them are not in it for the money. They don't make enough to justify such, but it's still difficult. And I'm not volunteering to be an official anytime soon. And but Robbie is right. We're struggling at the moment, just night in and night out. I think they had every official available working last night in North Alabama somewhere, and so that's going to lead to some difficult situations in certain times. So the officiating, the lack of, the teacher shortage is starting to affect even here in Jackson DeKalb, which is used to be unheard of, but that's taking place as well. So the cards are definitely stacked against us as far as having a really bright future here in the rural areas where the small schools are.
Well, getting on the positive side, Coach, I know you've won 8 state titles, and Jamie Pruitt talked about this. When you do win a state championship, it sure is nice to walk in that locker room and see those, because girls are often emotional. It's great to walk into that locker room and watch happy tears instead of sad tears, because you being a coach and coaching young ladies, it breaks your heart when they lose.
It's pretty devastating for a lot, especially, as you said, our expectations are so high, and it's not always realistic. But, that last game, it is, obviously a much more enjoyable time to get to say that last prayer together as state champions instead of having to say that, kind of as a last moment together, and having to go through the heartache of the loss. So it's, the highs and lows, I guess, is what makes all of it worth it. Just the swings happen a lot.
Well, speaking of prayer, Coach, your faith, how do you implement this in with your basketball team? I know, no coach wants to be pushy, but do you try to lead by example? Because, a lot of these young people need to be led in the right direction, not only on the court, but off the court.
Well, I would be, I'm not going to be hypocritical and claim I spend a whole lot of time being an evangelist and trying to reach each kid, but I also know my kids pretty well. And when I see a need, when I see someone that's struggling with their spirituality or anything like that, we find a way to get them the word, to get them some type of help if need be. I have some really strong spiritual kids on the team. I had one speaking at youth night last week, Ashton Childress. She talked about leadership and being independent and strong through the Lord. And that's like, I was very proud. I got to watch that on the YouTube channel that they have. And then most all of my kids are relatively active with their churches in some way or another. So it's a different culture where we are, as opposed to some coaches having to be the only, I guess, the only spiritual leader some of them ever have. But we're fortunate. Our staff is good. We have our local pastors and youth pastors are always available and dropping by to speak. Coach Cober's had a couple of different ones over the last few weeks on Wednesdays to talk to his teams. And, I feel good about where we are. but we're not perfect. That's for sure. I got my first technical of the year last night for just a little word that shouldn't have came out when it did, but I was trying to go all year without doing it. But the frustration levels, the human side comes out, and I can accept and face up to that. But it is very important that we have our leaders to, I guess, to just be a good light for each student, in a Christian way, because it is a problem across our nation, and maybe one of us or some of us can reach the ones that are in need.
Yeah, well, but setting an example, these young people needs to see an example, and when something like that happens, everybody's human, everybody knows it. That's just the way it works sometimes. Well, Coach, talk a little bit about this team. I know players that may be watching. Name the players on this team that have really helped you to get where they're at. I know Campbell Barron reached her 1,500th point, I think. I think the Patalis girl got to her 1,000th career point. Talk about some of the ladies on this team and how they have contributed to the success so far.
Well, like I said, we play 7 or 8 in a fairly decent rotation. I have 2 seniors. One I just mentioned, Ashton Childress. She had came in from Fife when she was a freshman. She really become kind of a glue, because every team has its, its splits or its sides, and she's kind of the one that keeps everybody held in there tight and together. She does a really good job of speaking, some truth, but also speaking peace. And then Madeline Flamme is kind of our enforcer. She's a tremendous defender. Of course, she's going to UAB to play softball. She has developed her offensive game over the last few years. She's also a good leader. She's, you don't ever have to wonder what she's thinking. She's going to make sure everybody knows. With my juniors, Campbell has had another good year. Her shooting might not have been on as much here in the last few weeks as it was early, but she reached her 1,500th point, 500 rebounds, and over 200 assists, all during this season. And she's a true gym rat. She stays in there. She's probably somewhere tonight doing workouts with her own trainer. If I had to bet, I couldn't get in touch with her earlier, so it generally means she's with that Brad Lipscomb out at Skyline or at New Hope doing individual workouts. Paisley has also been with her since 8th grade. Miss Vitalis she is really good when it matters. Sometimes I get on her for not taking enough shots and not really taking a more forceful role in the game, and she's like, I do it when I need to. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you, but she come through many times. Got another junior, Allie Romans. She spent her freshman year at section, but she's a Dutton kid, and her family was from Pisgah. She just made a decision early that she was going to section and then changed her mind. She has been playing lights out lately. So on the boards, especially, very aggressive. I think she had 16 rebounds last night against Ider. Junior Briley Caperton, she's kind of my go-to for anything. She's got a really great personality, works hard, tries to help everybody get along well. She's athletic, but she'll tell you she's more of a volleyball, softball player. But she sells out and does what she needs to do. Taylor Bell is a sophomore. She also, spent a year. Actually, it's an 8th grader. She went down to section and played for a little while, but so she played JV last year, and she's had a solid year. it's that first year on varsity can really affect, or it can be tricky. You can be on top of the world one minute and having a terrible game the next. But she's been a huge help. Probably our third leading scorer, if I had to guess. And then my other sophomore would be Ella Samples, and she's a good shooter, good instinct. Just needs a little more playing time before she becomes another. I call it something special. And I think that's all 8 of those. Yep. I think I covered all 8 of the ones. I got some coming off of JV that are doing a good job too. So it was Lynn, Ashton, Cam, Paisley, Allie, Ella Grace, Briley, and Taylor. Yep, that's all 8.
Got them all in. So that way you don't feed anybody out. You don't catch grief for it. So that's a good thing.
Catch grief no matter what. So yeah, I just try your best to cover all your bases, but it is what it is. We're all human, like you said earlier. Sometimes we're going to make mistakes, whether we're talking about our players or a game. We're going to make some mistakes just like the players do. So.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you about this. Of course, I'm going to name off, some of the players you've had in the past, like Whitney Ballard, Whitney Tinker, Paige Darwin, Kristen White, Presley Johnson, Annie Hughes, Molly Hurd, Holly Curry. These young ladies you have coached in the past and have gone on all-state type players. Do these young ladies still come back around from time to time? Because I know these young ladies mean a whole lot to you, but they also mean a lot to this community.
Not as much as I would like. Of course, Molly is in Nashville playing for Lipscomb and doing really well. Callie Tinker is, I think, she's the player of the week in the conference this time in the Alabama Junior College. I think it's the ACC or whatever their acronym is, but she's not had much of an opportunity to come back. Her and Molly stay pretty busy. Of course, I have Chloe Womack with me most days. Whitney spent the better part of 20 years on the staff or playing with us. Annie lives in Mobile, comes back as much as she can. Holly works at Sylvania, but every chance we get, we try to catch up. When they all grow up and get their careers and go in different directions, it's harder and harder. But I do have a lot of good relationships, and I have a lot of good relationships with some of those that were, I would say, quote, not generational players, but made a huge by just knowing their role and doing that. I work with some of my former players, and I do see a lot of them quite often, or I'll hear from them on social media. It's a pretty constant contact with some of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because there's players that of course I know of. Of course, I know John Kirby real well. His daughter Hayden Kirby that played for you. I know she was an outstanding role player, and I've always thought highly of her. And it is there's many that comes through. It's just the household names is the ones that everybody remembers. But I know it's great to win all those trophies, but being a meaningful, I guess you could say, someone as a role model, that's what this is all about. You want these kids to be successful. When they win, you get to see it in their face. Like you say, it's great to see the light come on. But, the trophies are nice, but that's what makes it special is those memories that are made. That climb is what everybody always remembers.
We try each year to do something special for them. We try to take a road trip of some kind for basketball to give them something just a little more to hang on to. I've been so fortunate, to have, you named off a list of who's there. And then you mentioned Hayden Kirby, she was one of the best defenders I've ever had. but you didn't know it because it wasn't flashy. She was just so smart. I can probably name another 10 that just knew their role, and that's what made the difference in most of the games. That last championship run, last two actually, we had a defender named Bella Bobo. She guarded Ace Austin 94 feet there at Jacksonville and held her to 27. That was that didn't seem like she made her work for everything. The last championship, we had Molly, but we also had Carly Holcomb come through it with big shots at big times. We had Lila Wheeler, great things. And go back the year before that, we had a girl that was only played her second year of high school basketball, Emma Ellison, which is a distant relative, but she had 10 points against Spring Garden. So when you start thinking back about all the ones that maybe didn't get as much notoriety, and they left with positive experiences, that's always an awesome feeling. That it kind of keeps you going. Who's going to be the next one that comes up and tells you about something great that happened to them, and it's just because you're a coach. They didn't have any other reason to talk about it besides they wanted you to know. I've heard about some of my players, when they were having children. I hadn't even told my husband yet, and that kind of thing. Which I believe that, but still, whenever we're close enough, I had one come up the other night. I didn't even recognize her. She had a hat pulled down over her eyes, and she said, "I just want to let you know I finally found me a church up here." She moved back from Florida, and she had much reason to come tell me, a personal thing like that. But that's the kind of relationships most of us have. I always tell them, if we don't have a good relationship, a good social relationship, a good mentor and player relationship, it's probably because they didn't want one. Because I want to make a connection with everyone, but it's not always possible. Personalities and so forth clash, but it is really, really special when you get to be a part of some of their future because of what happened years ago.
Yeah, that's when you reflect back, that's what will be important. Well, Coach, is there one certain state championship that stands out in your mind the most? Maybe the first one.
The first one was, well, I've always said that was a curse and a blessing at the same time. That was my first year out, and we lost in the county tournament. This North Jackson in overtime and missed several free throws. We lost to Fife and Coach Cochran there on a flex cut to end the game. In the Sand Mountain tournament, we went to North Sand Mountain and was runner-up in the area, and then caught fire. And so, that one was special because it was the first one and because of the way it happened. Each one I could probably tell a story about. The one that was probably the most difficult would be the COVID year. And that's when we had that first round of the region. We had to go to midfield with Coach Thomas down there. And that place was rocking. You couldn't hear anything. You couldn't communicate. But I had Molly and Callie. And that made a huge difference in that game. But it was tough. And then we had to come back and play Coach Austin and Ace to get there. And then when we got there, it was still two big challenges in Birmingham. So that was probably the roughest road, and looking back, the most rewarding as far as knowing we had to work for it. But each one was, each one has its own special. The 03 bunch was first ones to get back into that situation and finish. Those 03 and 05 girls kind of overlapped a little bit, and then that whole run of those 5 in a row was, it's unfathomable. I was worried I wasn't ever going to get back to back, and then it was like, okay, we won't ever get 3 in a row because that's impossible, and then 4 and then 5. There are just so many the intricacies and the way things worked out. it's more than I deserve, I know, and it's never really imagined this going that far.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you, I got a couple more things, and I'll turn it over to Howie. One thing I want to ask you about the blazer. Some years past, you started wearing that down at Jacksonville. What made you start doing that? Where did that come about?
Well, you mentioned the first team at 1990 waiting class. That jacket is older than most all of my players. It is older than all my players now. My first team in '97 bought that jacket for Christmas. It's wool. It's a very hot blazer to put on. I wore it at the end of that year. I took a couple of years off. I didn't realize that till I got to seeing pictures. I saw some state finals pictures where I was in a black suit and a gray suit, and I thought that was the problem. That's why we lost those. So, but that's the only time that comes out. So I don't know if we're ever going to get to see it again. If it is, it's either my last game or we're in the state finals or both. So.
Yeah. I know. I remember me and Howie was doing a game, and we had made, I know I had made, you talked about you wearing, I think it was the time you was wearing the black one though, and made it, because I had made a comment that you looked like a mafia boss, because I wasn't used to seeing you in a blazer. I was just used to seeing you maybe in a red shirt with blue jeans on and or khaki pants and a tucked in shirt. So it kind of caught me by surprise. Of course, that got around quick, and folks talked about it for a long time. But it's become a tradition, and I guess people maybe sees you now. It's like, oh Lord, here comes Pisgah, and here comes that blazer.
The blazer it's definitely a thing. I've got it framed over here. I can take the back off and have it ready to go in just a few minutes. I have bought additional. I went through a few games this year where I did my best Wimp Sanderson imitation with some plaids, and my mom always said, if you're going to do it right, be first class. And this is the first year I've ever actually coached in jeans. And that's because I knew Mama would have got me if she'd have been here. But I try to at least look professional. And as far as, I enjoy getting dressed up and playing that part of the role in the game. But sometimes it's about comfort more than style. So it's not really anything for a show. It's just a feeling. Sometimes I'll ask my players, is this a business trip? And if I say it's a business trip, I put on my blazer, whichever one I have with me that night. And we have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, and and you play how you look, and and the kids kind of feed off of that. Because you've always been a neat dresser as long as I've known you. You didn't matter if you had on a golf shirt. But I want to ask you this, Coach. If you was to decide to, possibly retire in the future, what are some of the hobbies? What will you do if you don't have coaching anymore?
Well, it's I'm a little bit old for what I'm getting ready to start. I am in the process of building 3 chicken houses. I'm fixing to be most people find that humorous. I kind of find it humorous myself, but can't do this forever and or not do something. So I'm going to be in the chicken business sometime in the next few months. It's getting close to on the building spaces. I'm hoping that I get to get the golf clubs out and play some golf with my brother and my nephew and some of those guys. They play a lot, and I just don't have time or desire or the means financially to go play as much as I would like. It takes up so much time. I want to travel. My wife and all these babies that we have, I want to make sure I get to spend a lot of time with them while I still got enough, hopefully, have the health to do it. And you never know when that changes. So, I think it's pretty much like most all of the coaches when you start getting into this is year 34 and team 29 varsity girls. And, I don't know where the end is, but I can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
I definitely understand, and I talked to Adam Gilbert. He I said, Coach, are you ever going to go back into being a head coach again? He goes, nope, I've got chicken houses. And when my time's up here, that's what I'm going to be doing. And then when you ask Coach Benefield, he goes, Phil, I don't know anything else. He said, I'll probably just coach football, until I just can't do it anymore. And then I'll totally disappear. But, you got to have a plan, got to have something to do to keep your time occupied. Because one thing you will do is you'll miss the relationship with the kids whenever you do say, this is it.
Yeah, that's, I was told this week or last week, I don't know any of them anything. I can go when I want to go, but that's not the way I feel in my heart. I want to make sure that I go in the right way, and that's not necessarily winning it and walk it out, because I should have done that a few years. Miss Molly Hurd and company, but I'm going to do it as long as I think I can do it right. And I question that daily because, I talk to my older players. They talk about how soft I am, and Harrison, they're probably correct. And, Coach Gilbert, he's the one that kind of got me into this. Spent a good bit of time together, and he's telling me about the good and the bad and the ugly of it, and then helped me kind of get started. So I'm really counting on he and his family when it comes time to go to work doing that. And I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a little nervous. But every new endeavor comes with, some nerves. So I'm not planning on quitting, but I am looking forward to the things that we'll get to do someday. Like, I've never been snow skiing. I'm afraid I'm not going to ever get to go, because time basketball season's over, I have to go around the world to go snow skiing or something like that. So making time in the wintertime for things like that might be nice someday.
Well, the ski slope out here at Cloudmont, here where I live, has been open, ever since the snow we had come in. So, they might decide to come back and be open again if we have some wintertime. Yeah, and you was talking about the Gilberts. That's a great family to lean on. I've known them for several years. Great folks.
They are. Both Adam and his brother Brett, their dad Kenneth and mom Karen, they've always been really good to me. I worked with Karen for close to 20 years at Pisgah there before she retired, and I've had a lot of people like that. I know you're close friends with Heath Kirby, and he's been one of my even though I'm a little older than he is, kind of one of my mentors with leadership and things like that, because another one that, he's not going to hold back. He's going to tell you the truth, but he's not going to, attack you with the truth or whatever. So I've had a lot of those people. I've got good assistants now with Coach Cochran's son, Kyle. Got Coach Finch helping us from Sylvania, and he is a fine guy. Knows his basketball, and of course got Adam up there from a game experience, and my daughter Chloe sitting there, and then across the gym, and there's the boys coaches, and we all kind of work together as much as possible. I help them most nights, and they're always giving me encouragement and trying see if there's anything you can do to help me, and that's including Luke Pruitt and Joy Kirby and Bradley Koger. I mean, Ryan Evans. There's a lot of us, and we're working this thing together, and hopefully we'll be able to put it.
Yeah, and of course you got Coach Darwin. Coach Darwin. He's the one you kind of want to throw under the bus every once in a while.
Well, you got to do that. Yeah. He's always supportive of me, and like we were at a tournament a week or so ago. Someone said, "Well, I'll tell you who it was. It's Tim Miller." We were down at the ML King Classic at Gunnersville, and he was playing at Spring Garden the next day. So he's already in Gunnersville, and he was wanting to go just stay there in Gunnersville and go on over to Spring Garden the next day, and their athletic director and superintendent wouldn't let them. And I thought, I don't even think I would have asked. I think I would have just went. Yeah. But I realize it's a different kind of situation and system, but I'm not in a situation where I try to get forgiveness, but he gives us a lot of leeway to do what we think is best, and that's always great to have a principal and our assistant principal, Miss Ashmore. They're right there and got her back all the time. It's a good place to work. It's hard to work sometimes because of various factors, but it's good.
Yeah, I met back when I was doing basketball. One of the first people I met from Pisgah was Coach Darwin when he was, helping coach basketball. One of my favorite people in the whole world. He really puts others first. He's always been that way, and I think the world of him.
He's definitely a people's person. He makes good connections and good relationships. I know that when you're in an administrative role, you can't make everybody happy, and he understands that. We all have our, I guess what you call it, our critics, and but he's always been good to me and my program, and I'm really appreciative of the things he's sacrificed for us and for every sport, really. Sometimes they call him a bit of a boys sports principal, but I've never really seen, I've never asked for anything that I needed that he said no or didn't find a way to help me. So,
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on. Appreciate your transparency. Appreciate your honesty. I always enjoy talking with you. You have a lot of stories to tell. I'm going to let Howie ask a few questions and let you try to get a little sleep.
Sleep for sissies is what I've been told. So,
yeah. Coach, we've got a gentleman, Joseph D. Hughes. He's a family member of the RiverCity-Media podcast company. He asked 3 questions, and I'm fixing to ask you. But Paige Darwin, one of your former players, came on and answered those, thinking that she might guess how you was going to answer them. So we're going to see how well she may know you. Yes. So the first question he asked is, who is the toughest opponent you've faced this year?
Ooh, that's mentally the Ider Hornets, skill wise and size wise and all that. That would be that Moore County bunch. It's a different brand of basketball in Tennessee.
And Paige's answer was Moore County, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So the second question he asked was there any one team that really surprised you this year?
I would say that the fight section has in them is one thing. I've been impressed. Their skill level really is as good as any. But the rest of them pull their weight pretty well. It's just they run out of gas sometimes. But I've been surprised at the level of, I don't know, pretty much evenness for everybody. There's a lot of equity right now. So I don't know what she would have said, but
she said North Sand Mountain.
Oh, I expected them, but because we played St. Their role players have stepped it up so much for them. That's killer for us in like the county tournament. The Kirkpatrick went crazy, so that was a bit of a surprise. Not that she hadn't done it yet. And
then the last question he asked was, who had the most growth on your team this year?
Have to be one of the younger ones. Taylor Bell or Allie Romans. Both have shown spurts. Allie's had 2 games here where she's almost at 20 rebounds. Taylor's defensive intensity and probably our third leading scorer. Both of those were great to see step up. So, I can't say that Childress has not, but she is a senior, so I really expected a lot of good things out of her, so I'm not sure that would be a surprise.
Paige said Taylor Bell.
That's that's a good one because she does a lot of things for us. Whether it's defensively creating things, sometimes controlling the pace of the game. She's the one that really wants to get out and go, and we like that. That's kind of the way she's geared. And so that's been a very pleasant, not really a surprise, but a pleasant opportunity to get to see someone that's going to get out and push the thing up the floor for me, and still, I think she had 8 assists against North Sand Mountain and maybe 5 steals, so she had a really good game up there. Uh, it has been, and then like I said, last night Allie had 17 rebounds against Ider, and that's coming off the bench. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you some personal questions, get to know Coach E, as a lot of people calls you, a little bit better. What is Coach E's favorite type of music?
Well, it's usually whatever my brother's listening to. Lloyd, he was a big influence in my life in a lot of ways, but especially in music. We shared a room as a child, and the radio was always on, and it'd play all night long. And to this day, he is such a music aficionado. He can name music from all eras and all genres, tell you the title and what year it was put out. So I'm when I'm with him, it's whatever he listens to. I like to sing, so it's gospel and country because I can actually understand it. Where I can break out some ballads. Been known to sing Purple Rain every now and then. So
I guess it'd be kind of pushing it for you to sing a little ballad real quick for us.
Not this time. We'll have to get better.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Hey, what's your favorite type of food?
Ooh, I'm a seafood guy. But it's hard to beat a well cooked steak, and I'd just soon have Adam Gilbert or one of those guys make the steak as going out somewhere and buying it because I know they know what's going on, and they know him and the JT Shankles, some of those guys, Shane Metz, they can cook. My brother is a great cook as well, so yeah, I'll take either one, steak or seafood or both.
Do you have any pregame superstitions that you need to do or need to be done before you take the court?
Uh, it changes from year to year. Sometimes I'm ritualistic about what I'm wearing. It's not been the case so much this year. I always want to have my notes, and even though I'm not going to use them during a game, I want to read through them. I want to have them in my hands. I, have my own quiet time. I've been times when I listen to music for a while, but now it's so busy now. Pre-games have changed, and trying to just to remember everything you're supposed to do before a home game, especially, is a challenge enough. So I think it trends. I have traditions and customs sometimes, and then other times I'm just swinging it.
So the last one I'll ask, and I know you've got a ton of state championship rings and everything, but what is your most memorable coaching moment that you've had?
That's just kind of get you in trouble.
Well, if it's going to get you in trouble, don't answer it.
I could name a lot, but that moment, that word, whenever Callie Tinker tied us up against Spring Garden there in finals, it seemed like we were dead in the water there for a second. And on a bit of a botched play, we managed to get the ball in her spot hands, and she knocked that down. And then we went to overtime and won. That jumps out as just one of the most exhilarating moments. But watching Molly Hurd take over for 42 in the Sand Mountain tournament against Plainview. You know, that's that was quite the moment and quite the experience. Watching my daughter in the state tournament attack the big girls from Pike Road, and Pike Road had 3 that were like 6'5", and we're going at them at the goal, and she's 5'7" and attacking them. Once they got to closing down the lane, it opened up the paint for everybody else. Just so many moments. Remember Holly Carey playing my point post. Bring the ball down, pass it to the wing, go post up. And they better give it to her. You know, so there's moments like that. But there are just about as many heartbreaking ones too, which are always easier to remember. And you know, we've given some away that still haunt me, and we've stolen a few away that are pleasurable as well. So I don't know.
Last question. We'll let you get out here. We know you want to go watch Alabama. We appreciate your time, especially this time of year, all the area that's fixing to take place, sub-region, everything. So the last one is going to be, once your coaching career is over with, will you sit down and make your top 10 all-time players list?
I don't think 10's going to cover it. I could.
Let's go. We'll go with 15 because that's how many you can actually put in a scorebook.
Ooh, it might be doable, but I'm not sure, because you start leaving out people whose role was so specific. You know, I'm going to take Kennedy Barron out there. Not a basketball player, but a rebounder. One of the best rebounders I've ever had. One of the best anticipators of what's going on, in spite of not knowing much about basketball at all. So, you know, the top, you know, I could tell you who the top 15 scorers are pretty easily. But when you start putting a team together, you know, sometimes you got to have that one that got 1,000 rebounds and didn't necessarily have a lot of points. And that person, my other daughter, who, if we had the records, I bet she would be in the record book for taking charges, because her senior year I took at least 50, you know, but we didn't keep up with it at the time. So there's so many like that. That's, you know, it'll be a tough job. I may ponder that one day when I'm picking up chickens.
How about doing a top 30 and having 15 against 15?
Ooh. Yeah.
The Carey Ellison top 30 players, 15 against 15.
I'd be afraid that, again, that still leaves somebody out. But how am I picking a point guard? That's a toughie right there, because I've had little point guards like Brandy Koger and Whitney Tucker that were as elite as any. And then I've had point guards like Molly Hurd, who's, you know, a 6-foot D1 player. You know, Whitney Ballard, she could play anywhere she wanted to play. Same with Holly. Chastity Tucker would be one that would figure in there. Presley Johnson, Presley Higdon. The list goes on and on. So it would be tough. I think I could get close on maybe 30. I don't know if I could ever get 10 or 15. Without leaving a household name, so to speak, in Pisgah out, I don't think I could get 15.
Absolutely. Coach, we appreciate your time tonight. Good luck in the area tournament, sub-region, rest of the year, actually. You know, I can sit here and name off the sub-region, regions, and all that stuff, but we'll wish you the best of luck throughout the season. In the past, you used to have the basketball team used to have a golf tournament. Do y'all still have that?
We've had it for 3 years now. We have it at Dogwood Hills. Generally, we've tried it in June and July both. It seems like, strangely enough, July works better because it fits around most people's schedule. We try to hit it whenever the local country clubs, Rainsville and Terrapin Hills and Trenton, the golf club down there, are not having their member guests and things, so we can get a good draw. And we make pretty good money off of it, and we always have good sponsorship, and seems like everybody has a good time. So we're looking forward to that sometime this summer. We just hadn't really established whether we want to go June or July this time.
I played in it one year. It was a class act. Enjoyed it. Before y'all have it, if you will, let us know the information. We'll get it out, and we'd like to have you and whoever else on to talk about it and promote it a little bit before it takes place, if you don't care.
We'll do it anytime. I can sit here and talk about the kids and basketball and the school and old memories for a long time. I was sitting with Coach Glenn Hicks, who was my high school coach, a few weeks ago. We were both questioning each other's sanity of why we were still trying to do this. And I said, well, I know why I'm still doing it. I really don't know why you are. Yeah. I'm not near as good a storyteller as he is, and not near as good a speaker as like Robbie, but I love talking to those guys and, hearing what they have to say, because you always come away with a nugget. And
I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to take a shot and ask you, was you on one of the teams that he was coaching that had the players to go out and guard the officials after halftime?
I was there. I was not one of them. That was about 86, if I had to bet, maybe 87. So I was not part of that, but I was there, as in that what we called the barn. And now I heard some other night trying to call that gym, which, by the way, should be Glenn Hicks Gymnasium, in my opinion. They were trying to call it the barn. I said, no, it's not the barn. The barn's the old gym. We even painted Herd on the wall there back in 1985, and I'm pretty sure it still exists in the same format. So there's my plug for Coach Hicks being, getting the gym out. I'm not sure what they're waiting on. I'll probably get dogged for that, but this is just real. Between he and Cole and Coach Best, and there's been numerous great coaches, but he set the standard for Jackson County for a long time. Sand Mountain. So I think it's time for that to happen. And but yeah, I could tell you some more stories, but I don't think he's going to want us to tell you about some of them. So he'll have to tell you.
Yeah. So Coach,
I remember being in the 5th grade and spending the night in the gym helping them refinish the floor. Now, I wasn't doing a whole lot, but I'd grab a bucket and pour out some finish. And he had some Kansas, some old Southern rock going on, Carry On My Wayward Son. They played that all night long. And, he made me as a young kid feel important. And I hope I'm able to do that, and been able to do that with some of our young kids. They're just, the stories are, when it comes to that type of thing, is endless. We've had a really good life with basketball.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Coach, I know I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Carey Ellison. It's always on the up and up, and people think the world of you. I know a lot of people that do know you, and you've done a wonderful job at Pisgah, not just basketball games, but just the person.
I appreciate it. And, I know anytime you're in this job, any leadership job, you make enemies and you make mistakes and hurt feelings, and you get your feelings hurt. I've never set out to hurt anybody or do anything that's intentional, but sometimes it's just, that's the way things work out. It's part of the job, and you try to make things right, and that's all you can really do. Not really necessarily going out and making an apology tour or anything like that, but I have to learn to let things go, and and for the most part I have over the years, and I'm appreciative for all the opportunities I've gotten, and for all those that supported and helped show the way.
Coach, before you get going, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we go?
There we go, trying to get me in trouble again. Just want,
as long as you give a shout out to that wife, you'll be all right.
Well, she's upstairs somewhere, and she wonders what I'm doing sitting out here in this cold room. But yeah, she's very supportive. Not able to go to as many games as she used to go. She is battling stage 4 cancer, doing really good with the treatments, but the treatments are pretty tough on her sometimes. So getting to go to ball games and stuff is not something that's high on our priority list right now. But she's doing great, and then it helps. We got 4 grandbabies and 2 on the way, one from each of the older girls. So that's, Lincoln Lane, Lux, and Navy. They've been a blessing in our lives, and looking forward to see what they name these other 2 boys, I do believe. So there's a lot of great things. That my dad, my little brother, have always been super supportive. Dad hobbles into most games he can on his walker and sits in the corner and heckles the refs and and anybody else he can. It's always been an honor to know that if it's possible, Dad's there. My older brother's been helping us a good bit this year. My younger brother, he's always in my corner. There's so many people that's been a part of a long, I'm a successful career, even though some nights it's like don't feel very successful right at this moment. But I'm sure there's people right now that our boys Coach Koger. He played for me. He coached with me early in this teaching career. And I got the girls, and he went and stayed in the boys' realm with Coach Beard, who is another inspiration to me. A spiritual mentor for sure. Coach Woody Beard is one of the best men out there, and has always been encouraging, even when he was down. So he and Coach Koger have been great friends, great mentors, and it's a family thing, and I know everybody uses that, and I don't like to throw around cliches or mottos or whatever, but you can't be successful without a good circle of people that's going to always may not always agree with you, but they're always going to be there and have your back. And that's probably the most important thing besides having the Lord.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, hey, and I think, matter of fact, Coach, I don't know if you heard this or not. I think Woody Beard and his Woodville girls team beat Skyline for the first time in 9 years last night. So that's big for him. I guarantee, big feather in his cap. And I can guarantee that meant a lot to Woodville. Well, Coach, I'm going to say goodbye on this one. Hope to see you in that red suit many more times this season, or that red blazer many more times this season, and look forward to seeing you in Birmingham in the future. I know you got to put that's putting the cart before the horse, but I wish you the best.
Well, I appreciate it. And, I hope you get to see it too. We're all ready to, like I said, get the show on the road. I don't think I've talked to a coach that's not ready to go ahead and get this postseason started and find out how the chips fall. But, we all want to win. We all want to end up in the same place, but only one can finish with that win. So I'm hoping we get the opportunity to wear that red jacket this year. But again, thank you for helping us out with, this free advertisement and getting a chance to talk about people that matter. And I really do appreciate both of you.
Okay. Coach, we appreciate you. Appreciate the time. Good luck this season. And for Coach Carey Ellison, Phil Harris, I'm Howard Chaney. Good night and God bless everyone.
Good night.